All right, I'm another week wiser, another week into my full-time solo musician journey. So let's talk about what I learned this week. Hello again, and I think I'm going to start this video like I started the last one. I'd like to talk about the week that was, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I learned from that. So the first half will be more of your vlog. If you're just curious how the journey is going in week 2, then you'll get a little bit of information from that. So for this week, I had 3 different gigs, and one of them was a bit of a surprise. I actually didn't have it in the calendar, but on Monday, I went to have dinner somewhere and they invited me to play music there on Thursday, which was really lovely. The venue was a little more upscale. The owner is a musician himself. There were other musicians there. It was a very musical community kind of feel to it. So I was alternating between me performing my solo set and the other musicians, like almost like a little bit of an open mic. It had a little bit more of a community feel to it. Then on Saturday, I played at 2 different gigs. I had a private event, 80th birthday party, which was cool. And then later that same day, I was playing at a public event. And I'm going to get right into the tip this time because I think the learning is really dovetail into the experiences of those 2 gigs. A lot is written, or I should say spoken or recorded, however you want to call it, the YouTube version of this, about how to handle your stage presence as a solo musician. So there's a video, this is almost like a video in response actually. There's a video by Jason Stallworth, who's I believe a Florida-based musician. And he has a lot of good information on getting started. And in particular, he talks about how to talk to an audience, how to thank the venue, how to share what some of the specials would be, all that kind of thing you do in a public setting for a venue that's hiring you and you want to kind of show appreciation and draw attention to them, which I think is a really good strategy for, especially if you're starting out. There's almost a response video by a YouTube channel called The Solo Gigging Life, where he talks about the right amount of stage presence and like, is it really right, especially if it feels forced to do that level of promotion and engaging with an audience. I think his conclusion is really more of it depends, which is the best answer and the least satisfying answer you can give. But what I really observed on Saturday in particular was that dynamic shift between how much forward stage presence and talking you want to do versus just being in the background playing music. That can change quickly. And in the case of the private birthday party, the person who hired me asked before I began for him to basically say some nice words about his dad, and for me to play Cats in the Cradle, which apparently was a song that his dad had sung to him as a kid. And I said, of course I'll do that. So of course, I held that song back. I usually perform that song. And what I didn't expect was that the dynamic would shift in that moment in quite the way that it did. So when I started out, and this is common in my relatively limited experience playing private gigs, the dynamic's really more of me in the background providing ambience for people who are catching up, talking to each other, eating, etc., all the things you do at a party. Some people are vibing in the music, some people are really enjoy that music, and people are even enjoying it kind of passively when they're interacting with people, but you're not really finishing a song to a round of applause necessarily. When the announcement happened and I'm playing Cats in the Cradle, suddenly it was about me serving the kind of message from father to son, and all eyes are on me. And it happened so quickly, and the dynamic changed so abruptly that I didn't have time to get nervous because it was a little jarring to go from being doing what I do, which I'm comfortable doing, but doing it in a way where all eyes are on me. And that happens in a public gig here and there, and I always appreciate it. But the kind of intentional shift in focus from that many people was really interesting, and it changed the dynamic after the song too. Some people were paying more attention, but in general, it was just a really cool moment where, because now suddenly people aren't paying attention, I was able to ask people to chime in on the last chorus, for instance, and which is something that I wouldn't have done and I didn't do earlier in that gig. Now, in contrast, the second gig that day was at a brewery that I've played at in the past, and they had me outside in the patio area, and there was a football game. People were eating, people were watching the game. They muted the TV where I was because I was playing music, of course. But people were kind of doing their thing and not necessarily engaging, and that's kind of normal. I found at some restaurant settings. So I wasn't really engaged, putting myself forward and interrupting what they were doing very much. I do always do a minimum of, hey, I'm Rick, I'm going to play some music for you if you like what you hear. I've got cards here, tip jar, all that kind of stuff. I do a little of that every few songs, but I try to keep it kind of minimal. Thank the venue for hiring me on the things in Jason's video. What changed for me was actually I finished the song and someone in the audience said, hey, that was pretty good, or something equally blunt and kind of funny, like talking in a quiet elevator, kind of funny. And that let me bounce off of them and said, oh, well, you're really going to like this, or whatever I said in that moment. That kind of dynamic became contagious. And eventually, at this point, the football game is over, I'm performing to a group of people who are enjoying, who are video recording, all that sort of thing, and I'm able to kind of do some of the tricks that I do to get people kind of engaging with me, which for me is a combination of the things that, again, in the videos that I'll link to, but also like one thing I like to do is actually have some stickers with my logo on them, and I'll kind of do some light challenge to the audience to see if they will engage with me and give them a sticker, something to take home with them. I'll have a little video at the end of this video captured by a friend of mine, which is me asking the audience to name the horse in the song A Horse with No Name, and the best name gets a sticker. So you'll see a little of that at the end. But that wasn't really appropriate in the early parts of that gig. It was something that I was able to get away with once I had voluntary audience participation. So I guess my tip for you would be reading the room has been the skill that I've been needing to grow the most, that I find the most compelling, because that lets you take musical performance to entertainment and back again in response to what the venue wants. And I think that generally gets like a positive response, even if the positive response seems muted because people are just vibing, eating, whatever they're doing. That's what's appropriate to them then. And look for those opportunities where there's an opening for someone to engage with you. And then if you play off them a little bit, it'll be fun for you, it'll be fun for them. And if the audience is engaged and they're kind of in that mood, maybe it'll be fun for everyone. And so creating that kind of dynamic shift was just what that gig needed, and ended up being one of my more fun public gigs that I've done recently. So that's the tip for this week. Just basically, how much stage presence is the right amount of stage presence? It depends, but for me, I'd say it depends on what the room is giving you and how you take that to whatever the next level is for that situation. Hope you enjoy this. Hopefully the sound quality is better. I was fighting that a bit last time, and I think this microphone, when it's on, is helping with that. Hopefully you enjoy this week, and I'll talk to you again after week 3. Cheers.
Any names so far? Anyone? Name? America. Call me.